Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so I decided I want to have more content on the channel besides just a weekly Black Clover review, so I can have more things to talk about on the channel and have more videos coming out constantly. Especially when we have weeks that we don't get a Black Chapter review or a Black Chapter, then I have nothing really to talk about and the channel just goes silent for that week. So I decided to try to test out a few things, and the first thing I decided to test out on the channel, just to see if this would, kind of catch fire, if people actually enjoy it, is by talking about the newest episode of RWBY Volume 7, Chapter 3. And you know what, I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, one of the reasons why I decided to talk about this video or talk about this episode was because of some of the controversy that's been following this episode with the way fans are kind of arguing over how they interpret two characters' interactions in the episode, which is, par for the course with RWBY. There's always been a lot of fighting or infighting going on when it comes to shipping characters. And I figured, why not kind of jump in on that, see if this will actually give me some more views on the channel, see if this is something that people enjoy. Now, that being said, I'm not just trying to jump on the bandwagon. I've actually been a long time RWBY viewer, been watching it since Volume 1. I've seen every single episode of RWBY. I might skip on some of the World Remnant videos, but I've seen every single main episode of RWBY, and I've watched it every week that it's come out. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't even really think anyone's going to watch this video anyway, so, But anyway, getting into RWBY Volume 7, Chapter 3, Ace Operatives, I actually really enjoyed the episode. There was a lot of things about it that I actually took from it and actually really enjoyed and liked. And because of that, because I actually want to spend a majority of the video talking about the things I actually did enjoy from it, and some things I picked up on that I kind of want to talk about, some theories I have for, I want to start off this video by talking about the things, briefly going over the things that I did not enjoy from the episode. And a majority of that actually has to do with the new designs for the characters. Now, when it comes to some of the characters like Weiss, I actually really like the new redesign for Weiss. I actually think it really fits with her whole, Snow Princess attire or Snow Princess characteristic. Actually, I really do like the new design they gave her in this volume. I think they struck gold on this new design. The only thing I'm a little questioning about is where all this hair came from for her, new ponytail thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, Weiss has always had long hair, but when it comes to the amount that they give her in this episode, I don't know where any of that came from. But like I said, I actually do really enjoy her new design. But when it comes to characters like Ruby, John, and Blake, I'm not really on board with the new designs for them. And really, when it comes to Ruby and John, it's mostly just the hairstyles. Like with John, I actually do really like the new armor that he has. I think it was a very natural progression to what his armor was becoming. And really, the only flaw I see in it is the whole sword on the arm thing. And I think by the end of the season, I'll actually have grown past it and actually really enjoy it even more. And when it comes to Ruby, I'm kind of okay with her outfit. I kind of like it. I mean, I think her last outfit was better, but I think this outfit is a good choice, and I think it will grow on me, like with John's sword. I think it will grow on me even more as the season goes on. But when it comes to the hairstyle choice that the designers made for them, I'm really not on board with it. Like with Ruby's hair, I think if they were planning on keeping Ruby's hair short, that the hairstyle they had for her previously was perfect. I think they had struck gold on that one. They didn't need to keep digging because they hit oil, but they decided to give her this new spiky look, and it doesn't work for me. Ever since I saw it in the trailer for Volume 7, I have not been on board with it, and I doubt I'm going to be any more on board with it as the season goes on. And personally, I think if they were going to change her hairstyle from that short style that she had before, that they should have gave her longer hair, and basically, as the series goes on, kind of gradually make her hair longer and longer until eventually she ends up looking more like her mom. But that's just my personal preference. I would have personally chose to do something like that with her character instead of giving her this new spiky look. And then when it comes to John's character, I just don't like that hairstyle. I just really don't like that militaristic hairstyle. The way it makes him look, he kind of looks goofy. And you know what? I didn't even think about this, but I actually watched the episode on RWBY, and I saw in the comment section on RWBY that someone pointed out that John's new hairstyle is very similar to the character Cardin that actually used to bully him back when they were at Beacon. So it's a little weird that they would decide to give John a hairstyle similar to a character that used to torment him in the past. And then when it comes to Blake, I'm just 100% not on board with her look at all. Like the design that they chose for her. And don't get me wrong, I'm an artist myself. I know when you have a design, you have to over time change it, develop it a little bit more. That way it doesn't get stale and becomes fresh and new, and people will actually become more attracted to it. So I get it, you had to change the design every now and then, but the changes they made for Blake in the season, instead of being a step forward, I feel like they were a huge step backward. Like the whole short hair thing, I don't like the new hairstyle at all. I think she was better with longer hair. And I don't like the jacket they gave her. I just flat out don't. And then when it comes to her blade, I really am not on board with the way they fixed her blade. And I understand they did need to fix it because in the last season it got cracked in half. They needed to find some way to repair it. But the idea that they put a piece of yellow metal where the crack was before in order to repair it just does not work for me. And I understand what their idea was behind it. The whole, whenever you have a design that's all one color, you want to put another color in there somewhere to break it up. But that yellow, and again, that yellow on black is a great color scheme. But where they decide to put the yellow for this breakup does not work. Now, if they would have put the yellow as like maybe the razor edge of the blade, that probably would have worked. If they would have put the yellow at the hilt of the blade where basically the blade and hilt meet up, that probably would have worked out as well. But them putting it randomly in the middle of the blade just is a bad design choice. And I honestly don't understand, from our perspective, I don't understand what the people behind RWBY were thinking when they decided to fix it this way. And again, I understand it was a reference to the whole Bumblebee ship. But you can't sacrifice good design in order to make reference to something that doesn't really need to be referenced. And you know what, speaking of the ship, let's talk about that real quick. I knew after the way the last volume ended that they were going to be possibly going forward with the ship. And even though I was not on board with it, I was hoping that as the season progressed, that they would get me on board with it with their interactions between the two characters. And so far, based on the way they were interacting in this episode, they're going in the complete opposite direction. Like, I kind of equate the whole Bumblebee ship, the whole ship between Yang and Blake, to being the same as the ship or the relationship between Korra and Asami in Avatar: The Legend of Korra, where I was very not on board with the way they represented that relationship because it came out of nowhere. There was no development for it, and it was just shoved in our face, and we were told that we had to accept it. And in fact, if I remember correctly, the scene we got between Blake and Yang in the chapter, where basically we see Yang complimenting Blake on her new hair and Blake blushing, is pretty much carbon copy of the scene that we got between Korra and Asami, which was the only scene in season 4 of that show that kind of hinted at the relationship between the two characters. Now, that being said, even though, like I said, I wasn't a fan of the whole Korra and Asami relationship as it was developed in the show, because they kind of, like I said, they drew their romance at us out of nowhere. It was just kind of shoved in our face in the very end of the last season. After I started reading the comics, after the show ended, they developed the relationships in a very good way. I actually became on board with the whole ship between Korra and Asami after I started reading the comics, because they developed a relationship. They showed that they're not this old perfect couple. They don't have this awkward flirting thing going on anymore. They just are a natural couple. They have good chemistry. It's just everything they should have done in the show, they did in the comic. And that's why I had hopes that as the season goes on, they would possibly do the same thing with Blake and Yang if they decided to develop the relationship even further. But so far, based off what they gave us in this chapter, it's just not working. Alright, now that I'm done talking about the things I don't like about this episode, let's get into the things I did like. And starting off with, again, the character designs. I really like the redesigns done for Nora, Ren, Yang, and Weiss. I already mentioned everything I liked about Weiss. When it comes to the other three, there's nothing really to talk about. I really think their designs, they actually look very well. I don't need to go into detail exactly what about them works, because if you just look at them, you can tell what works and what doesn't, and everything about their outfits work. Now, if you notice, this entire episode is pretty much here, and it actually kind of goes with the namesake for the episode. It was pretty much here to introduce us to this new team that we're going to be following throughout the season, and show us exactly what their characters are like and what they can do as a team when they work together and when they fight against Grimm. And I really dug that. I dig the fact that instead of waiting and kind of gradually going through it, they kind of drew in our face. They got it over with right here in this episode, showing us exactly what these characters are about, what their characteristics are, and how they work together as a team. And I actually really do enjoy this team. They're not kind of bland like some of the other huntsmen that we've gotten throughout the seasons. They actually are kind of all enjoyable. Even the character who was the most boring to me, which is the captain of their team, is somewhat of an interesting character. And even though I don't personally like his weapon being a fishhook, I think that there's room for these characters to grow and develop even more, and am actually looking forward to, for the first time when it comes to new characters, for more of these characters to see exactly how they interact with the main cast, how they become part of the main story, if they end up actually surviving the end of the season. I'm very interested in seeing what becomes of these characters. And I also kind of like the idea that I don't remember what her name was, but the speedster girl who actually kind of reminds me of the Flash with the whole yellow lightning thing she has, and the fact that she's super fast. I kind of like the idea that she might be kind of teaching RWBY more about her own semblance, because RWBY had always thought, as she showed in this episode, that her semblance was speed. But what the girl picks up on when she sees RWBY's semblance for the first time is that it doesn't seem like it's actually speed. And I know there's a lot of theories out there about exactly what RWBY's semblance could be, and I know that there's one where someone believes that she actually turns her body into like a burst of rose petals. I think there's more credit to that theory now that they're actually talking about it in the episode. But like I said, I actually really do enjoy the idea that these two are actually going to kind of have some kind of dynamic where she teaches RWBY more about her semblance, and that she helps RWBY grow stronger as a character. And speaking of the dynamic between two characters, between the main cast and this new crew, I know, and this is actually the main topic that people have been talking about online, the whole kind of ship between Crow and this new guy Clover, who is the captain of the squad. There's been a lot of people talking about, hey, these two are gay for each other now. These two characters are so much in love between their interaction in this chapter, and a lot of people are saying no, they're not. They're not in love. They're just gonna be best friends. They're clearly best friends now after just one episode. And if I'm being honest with you guys, after watching the interactions between two characters in this episode, I don't really get either points. I definitely don't get the whole they're in love thing, that they're gonna end up becoming a couple, and I don't really see the whole they're best friends now thing. They haven't interacted enough with me to go either way. It just seems kind of like they have kind of a good dynamic. They kind of have a little bit of chemistry between each other when it comes to being partners in a fight, especially since their semblance kind of balance each other out. But other than that, there's nothing really special about the relationship. It doesn't seem like they're gonna be good friends. It doesn't seem like they're gonna end up being lovers. They just got to know each other. They just met. So I don't really have an opinion about what their relationship's going to be. Now, it could develop either way. They could develop it to where Crow and this guy become lovers. They could develop it to where Crow and this guy become best friends. I don't really know. Honestly, I don't really care either. I just know that we haven't seen enough of the two of them interacting to warrant an argument about one or the other. Now, we get these amazing fight scenes, and I actually really love the choreographed fight scenes that we got throughout the season or throughout this episode. Basically, we start off by showing off the first few fight scenes are literally just there to show the main cast what their new weapons can do. Everyone except for Crow. It doesn't seem like his weapon changed at all, but everyone else has gotten some upgrades to their weapons, and that's pretty much what the first few fight scenes do. They show off basically what the main cast's new upgrades to their weapons can do. Especially Yang's. I gotta say, the whole idea that her gondolas now can leave kind of like mini bombs in her opponents when she punches them, that is something that's actually very impressive. I never thought of doing something like that for her character, and I'm interested in seeing exactly how she will use that in future fights, especially when she ends up going against human opponents. And then the rest of the fight scenes were basically just to show us exactly what this new team can do. First, we had individual fight scenes where we got to see one or two of them working together, basically fighting off against a few Grimm. And then when it came to the main Grimm, which was basically just kind of like Ghost Wraith kind of Grimm, which, by the way, they gave us in this chapter a Grimm Reggie Rock. The first time I saw the final boss for the episode, I was like, this is just Reggie Rock, Reggie Steel in Grimm form. You finally gave it to us. I'm 100% on board with this. But yeah, like I said, we got individual fight scenes for each of the new characters, and then at the end of the episode, we got to see the team work together. We got to see all five of them work as a team, see how well they can work together, and see exactly how skilled they are. And they actually are very skilled. I mean, they're a little flashy, but they are very skilled. They work well together. And I can't wait to see them go up against real threats in future episodes. We also get this very interesting scene where we see Team RWBY kind of pull back when they're on their mission, and they start talking in secret. And they're talking about the fact that RWBY decided for the entire group to keep the secret about what Osmond really is about from Ironwood and the rest of the Atlas military. And it seems like Yang is the most against it. Which makes sense because she was the one in the last volume who was very, no more secrets. We need to be open about everything now. So I can understand why her character would be against Ruby keeping secrets. And we even see that Oscar is also against the idea of keeping the secrets about Oz from Ironwood. And I gotta admit, I'm actually very interested in seeing exactly how this develops, the fact that they're keeping a secret from Ironwood about exactly what Osmond had been planning and doing all this time. Because of the fact that, for starters, Ruby was the last character I expected to actually want to keep things a secret. I figured she would have been the one to have been advocating for everyone to actually tell Ironwood the truth, while Crow maybe would have been the one to say, hey, let's keep it a secret, let's keep it on the down low for now and see how things play out. And on the second hand, I also am interested in seeing exactly how Ironwood will react to it. Because like they mentioned in this episode, Ironwood's heart is in the right place with everything he's doing, but mentally he's not in a solid state of mind. So it's actually really is a good idea to keep everything they learned about Osmond a secret from him, because right now he still does trust Osmond and actually does kind of look to him for guidance. And finding out the truth about him will actually crush him even more than it did Crow and actually make him go over the edge. But at the same time, finding out the truth and finding out that they've been lying to him this entire time will probably push him even further over the edge and make the situation even worse than it would have been if they would just been outright with him from the get-go. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode of RWBY. I'm interested in seeing exactly how many of you guys actually end up watching this. Like I said, I doubt anyone's really going to pay attention to what I have to say about RWBY and actually even bother clicking on the video. But hey, let's see. Maybe this will be the new thing I actually end up reviewing on the channel. But anyway, for you guys who actually do end up watching the video and actually do watch RWBY and enjoy it, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about the things I had to say in this video and about your opinions on the episode itself. Like and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.